Somewhere in central Turkey tonight, a shepherd sleeps. Wolves circle beyond his flock. Between them stands a 140-pound dog wearing a collar lined with iron spikes. This is not an internet fantasy matchup. For centuries, the Kangal has been bred for one purpose: to hold the line against the gray wolf. But the real question isn't which animal is stronger. It's what happens when a purpose-built guardian meets an apex predator shaped by hundreds of thousands of years of evolution, and why the answer depends on conditions most people never consider. In the wilds of Eurasia, the gray wolf stands as a product of hundreds of thousands of years of natural selection. Every trait, from its stamina to its hunting tactics, has been shaped by the demands of survival as a generalist apex predator. The wolf must adapt to shifting prey, changing seasons, and the constant threat of injury. Its instincts are tuned for versatility, whether chasing elk across the tundra or stalking sheep on the Anatolian steppe. The Kangal, by contrast, is the result of a very different process. For centuries, Turkish shepherds in the Sivas region have bred these dogs with a single goal in mind: to guard flocks from wolves. This was not a casual choice. The region's nomadic Yurok and Turkmen herders depended on their sheep and goats for survival. And the threat from wolves was relentless. Over generations, they selected for size, courage, and a protective drive that would allow the Kangal to stand its ground against the region's most formidable predator. This makes the Kangal a specialist, engineered by people for a specific purpose. Its temperament, physical build, and even the tradition of the spiked collar all reflect a focused assignment: protect the flock, face the wolf. The gray wolf, meanwhile, remains a master of adaptation, its design shaped not by human intent, but by the pressures of the wild. Every later comparison of strength, speed, or bite traces back to this fundamental difference in origin and purpose. Size alone does not tell the whole story, but it sets a clear baseline. The male gray wolf, across much of Eurasia and Anatolia, typically weighs between 80 and 100 pounds. Height at the shoulder varies by region, but most adult males stand just under 30 inches tall. The wolf's frame is built for efficiency: a lean, muscular body that supports long-distance travel and endurance hunting. Limbs are narrow, the chest is deep, and the head is proportioned for a balance of speed and bite leverage. The Kangal, by comparison, is a heavyweight. Breed standards for working males list weights as from 110 up to 145 pounds, with some exceptional individuals reaching even higher. Height at the shoulder averages around 30 inches, putting the Kangal in the upper range for large dogs. Unlike the wolf's streamlined build, the Kangal carries noticeably thicker bone, a wide chest, robust legs, and a head that's broad and almost bear-like in profile. The skull is rectangular, with powerful jaw muscles anchored to a wide zygomatic arch, giving the breed a distinctive, imposing silhouette. This difference in mass is not accidental. Turkish breeders selected for bulk and stature to give the Kangal a physical edge over would-be predators. While the wolf is the model of a wild hunter, the Kangal stands as a purpose-built guardian. Heavier, denser, and physically imposing in ways that reflect centuries of selective breeding for defense. On the scale, the Kangal generally outweighs its wild rival, and its body tells the story of a dog shaped to hold its ground. Online, the Kangal's bite force is often described in near mythical terms. The number 743 pounds per square inch appears everywhere, from viral videos to breed websites. Yet there's no peer-reviewed laboratory study that confirms such a measurement. In fact, the origin of that figure traces back to a single, non-replicated report, repeated across social media without any independent validation. When veterinary researchers and biomechanics experts have actually measured bite force in large dogs. The results are far more modest. For breeds of similar size and skull shape, including Mastiff types, the strongest recorded bites fall between 250 and 400 pounds per square inch. Biomechanical models that estimate jaw pressure based on muscle mass and skull width yield similar numbers for the Kangal. Impressive, but not super canine. Turning to the gray wolf, scientific estimates place its bite force around 400 pounds per square inch, with some models suggesting a possible upper limit near 500 pounds per square inch for the largest individuals. What matters in the field is that a wolf's jaws are strong enough to crack bone, tear hide, and bring down large prey. In practical terms, the gap between the Kangal and the wolf is much smaller than online rankings suggest. Both animals possess formidable jaws, but neither holds a clear, overwhelming advantage based solely on bite force. The real contest, as history shows, depends on more than just numbers on a chart. Gray wolves are built for movement across open country. When a wolf decides to hunt, it can accelerate to bursts of 35 miles per hour, but speed is only part of the story. Wolves are not sprinters, they are endurance hunters. A pack can travel at a steady trot for hours, covering vast distances without tiring, weaving through forests, crossing valleys, or tracking prey over the steppe. This stamina lets them control the rhythm of the chase, choosing when to press, when to fall back, and when to circle for another attack. In open terrain, a wolf's ability to shift gears from a ground-eating lope to a sudden sprint makes it a master of pursuit. The Kangal, by contrast, is not designed to chase. Its frame is heavier, its muscles built for short, explosive action rather than long-distance running. Centuries of selective breeding have shaped the Kangal to act as a barrier, not a pursuer. When a threat approaches, the Kangal's job is to intercept and hold the line, using its mass and presence to block, confront, and, if necessary, fight off intruders. It can move quickly in short bursts, enough to cut off a wolf's approach to the flock, but it will not match a wolf's stride for stride over the hills. In a straight foot race, the outcome is clear. The wolf wins easily. But this contest is not decided by racing. The wolf's mobility gives it options: to probe for weakness, to retreat and regroup, to try again another day. The Kangal's strength lies in its ability to stand firm, to turn the predator's speed into a standoff at the flock's edge. In the dance between hunter and guardian, movement sets the stage, but it is the meeting at the boundary that decides what happens next. Predators rarely act alone in the wild, and the gray wolf is the definition of a team player. Across Eurasia and Anatolia, wolves operate in packs, family units that can number anywhere from 4 to 12. Every hunt is a coordinated effort. Wolves spread out, flank their target, and use patience to probe for weakness. One animal distracts, another circles, and the rest wait for the right moment to close in. This approach lets them bring down prey much larger than any single wolf could manage, and it's the same method they use when testing the defenses of a flock. A lone wolf, hungry or desperate, might risk a direct approach. But most of the time, the real pressure comes from a group. Each animal reading the others, shifting position, and communicating with subtle signals. When a pack encounters livestock, it's not a random charge, it's a calculated test, feeling out the perimeter, searching for a gap, and retreating if the risk outweighs the reward. Turkish shepherds, well aware of this dynamic, have never relied on just one guardian. In the Sivas region, Kangals are almost always kept in pairs or small groups. 2 males and a female is a common arrangement, echoing the social structure of their wild rivals. This isn't about preparing for a staged duel. It's about matching a system with a system. The dogs patrol together, reinforce each other, and cover more ground. When wolves attempt to flank or distract, the Kangals respond as a unit, blocking angles and refusing to be drawn out one by one. This collective defense is rooted in centuries of experience. Field accounts and ethnographic reports describe how pairs of Kangals can force a wolf pack to back off after a brief, noisy confrontation. The outcome is rarely a dramatic fight to the finish. More often, it's a standoff, predators measuring the defenders, defenders holding the line. The story here is not a fantasy of lone champions, but a real-world contest of teamwork, patience, and mutual reinforcement. A wolf in the wild faces unforgiving math. Every hunt is a calculation. Every move weighed against the risk of injury. A broken leg or torn muscle can mean starvation, not just for one animal, but for the entire pack. This caution is not weakness, it is survival. Wolves probe, circle, and test. They avoid direct conflict unless the odds are clearly in their favor. Even when faced with livestock, a wolf will often retreat if the threat of injury looms too large. The risk is rarely worth the gamble. The Kangal, on the other hand, is the product of a different equation. Turkish shepherds bred these dogs for a single purpose: hold the line no matter what approaches from the darkness. The Kangal's temperament is shaped by centuries of selective breeding, favoring dogs that do not hesitate when danger nears the flock. Breed standards describe them as steady, bold, and independent, traits that translate to an unshakable presence in the face of a predator. But this courage is not reckless aggression. The Kangal is not bred to pursue or provoke. Its bravery is defensive, rooted in the instinct to guard rather than to chase. When a threat appears, the Kangal stands its ground with immediate, decisive action, but only as long as the flock is at risk. This contrast runs deeper than muscle or teeth. The wolf's caution is a strategy honed by nature, a way to ensure survival through risk reduction. The Kangal's resolve is a human invention, engineered to meet danger head-on for the sake of another species. In every real encounter, these instincts shape the outcome as much as size or speed. The standoff between wolf and Kangal is as much a contest of psychology as of physical strength. Centuries of Turkish shepherding offer a living record of what happens when Kangals and wolves meet, not in theory, but in the dust and grass of real pastures. In the high plateaus of central Anatolia, the Kangal's reputation was forged by necessity. Shepherds depended on their flocks for survival, and wolves posed a constant threat. Over generations, families in Sivas and surrounding regions relied on Kangals not as pets or show dogs, but as working partners, dogs whose value was measured in the safety of sheep at dawn. Field evidence comes not from staged contests, but from the daily rhythm of herd protection. Ethnographic accounts and oral histories describe a familiar scene. A pair of Kangals patrolling the perimeter, watching for movement along distant ridges. When wolves approach, the response is immediate. The dogs sound the alarm, close ranks, and confront the intruders at the edge of the flock. Shepherds recount that most encounters end with the wolves backing off, deterred by the dogs' size, numbers, and the unmistakable message of the spiked collar, a centuries-old tool designed to turn a wolf's most dangerous attack, the throat bite, into a moment of risk for the predator itself. These stories are not folklore in the sense of fantasy. They are the practical record of a system tested over hundreds of seasons. The Kangal's effectiveness is not absolute. Failures do occur, especially when wolves attack in large packs or catch a dog alone. But the pattern is clear enough that Turkish agricultural authorities subsidize breeding programs and encourage the use of Kangals in traditional pairings. The Ministry of Agriculture, for example, has documented the reduction of livestock losses in areas where Kangals are maintained and equipped with collars. Though precise numbers are difficult to pin down, shepherds rarely keep formal logs, and attacks can vary year to year. The qualitative evidence is backed by the breed's continued use across Anatolia and, more recently, in American ranching. Within shepherd culture, a Kangal that fends off a wolf earns a place of honor. Oral tradition holds that only after surviving its first real encounter does a dog receive its spiked collar, a visible sign of readiness and resilience. Breeding families in Sivas maintain bloodlines that trace back generations, selecting for the traits proven effective in the field: size, courage, and a steady temperament. The result is a living tool, shaped by both human intention and the relentless challenges posed by wolves. This is not a story of fantasy matchups or viral videos, but of a partnership between people and dogs, tested by the realities of the steppe and recorded in the memory of those who depend on it most. Wolves, when they attack, go for the throat. This is not random instinct, it's a strategy refined over millennia. A wolf's jaws, closing on the neck, can crush the windpipe or sever arteries in seconds. For the wild predator, this is the shortest route to ending a fight, whether the target is a sheep, a rival, or a defending dog. Turkish shepherds, watching these tactics play out on the steppe, responded with a simple but transformative tool: the spiked collar. Forged from iron and studded with sharp points, the collar turns the Kangal's most vulnerable spot into a fortress. Spikes 3 inches long jut outward, making it dangerous for any attacker to clamp down on the neck. Field accounts and ethnographic records describe how a wolf, lunging for the kill, can be injured or driven off by a mouthful of metal. This detail, just a few pounds of steel, reshapes the entire contest. A Kangal wearing the collar is no longer exposed to the classic wolf tactic. The dog's throat, usually a fatal target, is now the best defended point on its body. In many real encounters, the outcome hinges on this one adaptation. The collar doesn't make the Kangal invincible, but it forces the wolf to rethink its approach, blunting the efficiency of its primary weapon. Over generations, the spiked collar has become more than equipment. It is part of the Kangal's defensive identity, a symbol of the ongoing chess match between predator and protector on the Anatolian plains. Change just one factor, and the matchup between Kangal and wolf becomes far less predictable. Remove the spiked collar, and the Kangal's most vulnerable spot is exposed. Place a single dog on unfamiliar ground, away from its flock, and the odds shift again. In these conditions, the Kangal's edge as a livestock guardian begins to fade. The wolf, shaped by nature for adaptability, gains ground as the setting moves away from the open pastures of Anatolia. Field accounts from Turkey and modern ranches in the United States reveal that a lone Kangal, especially without its traditional collar, is at real risk when faced with a determined wolf. The collar's absence means the dog's throat is no longer protected from the wolf's signature attack. Terrain matters too. In dense forests or broken ground, the wolf's agility and experience in ambush play to its strengths, making it harder for the guardian to anticipate or block an attack. Numbers quickly become decisive. While 2 or 3 Kangals working together can hold off a wolf pack, a single dog is far more vulnerable. Ethnographic reports and rancher testimonies agree. The system works because it's built on teamwork, not solo heroics. When wolves hunt in packs, they use flanking and distraction to isolate their target. A solitary Kangal, no matter how powerful, cannot cover every angle at once. The lesson is clear. Context matters more than any raw statistic. The Kangal's reputation is built on its role as a specialist, thriving when paired with its kind, equipped with proper defenses, and defending territory it knows. The wolf, by contrast, is a generalist. Its strength lies in adapting to whatever circumstances it encounters. When the scene shifts away from the traditional sheepfold, certainty drops, and the outcome becomes a question of environment, numbers, and chance rather than breed alone. Today, in regions where wolves still threaten flocks, the Kangal's role is more than legend. It's daily reality. As human expansion pushes wild predators closer to livestock, the balance between wolf and guardian remains a living contest shaped by terrain, numbers, and instinct. Nature rarely offers clear winners, only survivors adapting to new challenges. The real battle endures, far from any viral debate. What do you make of this rivalry? Share your thoughts below.